All right, friends, let's get started here. So for my IT part, I'm going to give you a quick little walkthrough on Zoom, how to chat with us. So we'll be taking questions live here, and the best way to do it is via chat. So let's take a look at that here. So some quick Zoom basics for everybody. Questions via chat, super simple. We'll be looking at iPad, iPhone, and computer, the most commonly used things. Let's start with the iPad. So you log in, you'll see some people down here. A couple different options, but for the sake of this, top right corner, we have more. You tap on that, and then you have chat options right there. Tapping into that, by default, everyone, feel free to share your questions with everyone, or if you want to get fancy, you can tap on that everyone and pick a specific person to ask the question to. So when you see my name up there, ask me the questions. I'll be reading to Ari and Sheana as we go on. iPhone. Usually you go vertical. Feel free to flip it horizontal if you want to get a bigger picture when we're zooming in on something. Down at the bottom, we have the 3 navigation dots. You'll want to be on that middle one because that'll show you what the main camera is. Otherwise, you can swipe through and see the other people that are just engrossed in the presentation. Tapping on the screen brings up the little control panel here. And we want to bring that more, just like we did on the iPad. Tapping on that, that looks familiar. Click on chat. Here we go. Everyone by default. Again, you can pick specific people if you'd like. Computer, a little bit different. By default, it'll try to go into full screen. Feel free to use it that way if you'd like. Personally, I like to exit the full screen so I can have things on the window here. But either way, we have participants. You can click on that or chat. Either chat and go just like we did on the others, chat with everybody, or participants, and you can pick a specific person that you want to message there. Again, everyone or specific people. All right. That's the boring IT stuff. So now let's get the show on the road. All right, a couple more people coming in.
Okay.
All right, Sheana, here we go. You have the floor, Sheana.
Welcome.
And Ari.
Welcome, everyone, to the first Cheese Chat. We have a guest, Ari Weinzweig of Zingerman's family of businesses. Hey, Ari.
Hi, Sheana.
Welcome via Zoom to Sonoma today.
I'd rather be there in person, but I'll take it.
The invitation is open when the country allows, for sure.
You could drive cross
thanks for taking the
country
time. That would be a fun trip.
No traffic.
So, Ari, no traffic. That'd be a nice road trip, actually. So, Ari, welcome. I have a selection I picked a couple of your Zingerman's businesses to showcase today. Your creamery, of course, being a cheesemaker, I had the honor to order some of your cheeses, and it is American Cheese Month.
Yeah.
So, Ari, you want to share anything about your creamery that you'd like to share with our guests?
Well, sure, Sheana. Let me think. So we're, people know, I guess everybody knows Zingerman's from different places. Hi, Robin Klein. She knows us well. Bill, is that you in the background too? Okay, so anyways, but we, what a lot of people don't realize is we're actually a collective collection community of, let's say a dozen different businesses all here in the Ann Arbor area. Each one, we all run together as one, like I said, collective with shared mission and vision, long-term vision and values, but each one operates on its own. And so we have everything from our mail order and deli, the deli probably, we now work in the BC and the AC, before coronavirus and after coronavirus. So BC, the deli probably had 170 employees. We'll see where we end up, but our creamery is really small. I mean, we only have like 15 people working there, BC, and we work with a couple local farms, or I don't know, depends how you define local, but Michigan farms, one's 45 minutes, one's an hour and a half or hour away, that we buy milk from. Everything's done by hand. We really only make fresh cheese, so everything is using milk that's been pasteurized, but we use low temperature, slow pasteurization, like probably everybody else that you buy from in your shop, so that we can protect as much as we can of the cheese quality. And I think you have 3 things today from the creamery.
I do. I have the pimento cheese,
Yeah,
the city goat cheese, and the
city goat
9
with the
pepper.
Yeah, so let's start with you want to start with, does it matter where I start?
Nope, please take it away.
Okay, well, let's go with the goat. So, you know, we're certainly not the only ones that do it, but there's not that many places left that hand ladle their goat cheese. There's certainly some other wonderful creameries around the country that do, but I think most consumers mostly experience goat cheese in supermarkets nowadays, although that was almost unthinkable 30 years ago. It's now, you know, in every grocery store, you know, extruded into a little plastic sealed package that people perceive to be fresh because it's still soft, but it's actually could be 6 months old or whatever. So we're, you know, one of whatever, a dozen and a half places around the country that are still old school. So it's all hand ladled. As you know, when somebody extrudes the curd, it definitely breaks down texture and increases the sense of pastiness in my experience, and also in my experience tends to increase a little bit of bitterness. So the hand ladling retains the delicate texture of the cheese. If you were to pick up the city goat and sort of gently break it, you'll actually see like layers inside from the various layers from the ladling. Sorry, that was a lot of L's. So for me, that's a really wonderful cheese. And I always say with fresh cheese, there's not a lot to hide behind because the quality of the milk and the quality of the make is really all there is. The pepper one is the same exact cheese. Both are some of my favorites. The pepper, I'd have to look up to remember exactly what the 8 peppercorns are, but they're different regions of India primarily, and then some green pepper and white peppercorns also, and a small bit of the pink peppercorns, which of course aren't really peppercorns, but they come from a Piste de Cru, which is a spice company we buy from up in Montreal, Philippe and Ethne de Vienne. I've been doing this almost as long as we've been in business here, and we get some amazing stuff from them. Switching over to the pimento cheese, that's the complete opposite. So that's a cheese that I learned about at Southern Foodways Alliance, which you know about, the organization based out of Oxford, Mississippi. I'm a Chicago kid, so I didn't grow up with pimento cheese. I never even heard of pimento cheese. And I've been going to Southern Foodways for 18 years now, almost every fall. I don't know what's going to happen this year, but when I was down there one year, I don't know, people were talking about pimento cheese, and I sort of naively, stupidly assumed it to be, you know, kind of the equivalent of, I don't know, craft processed cheese in the can. And I made a slightly cynical, snide remark, not certainly the worst one in human history, but it wasn't very complimentary. And some, you know, like everybody at the table jumped on me almost in unison. And clearly I didn't have a clue what I was talking about. And clearly in the South, pimento cheese is not an unknown, it's a cultural icon. And I came to realize pretty quickly from reading and talking to people that it's an interesting food in that it seems to cross all class lines, race lines, religious lines, age lines, ethnicity lines. Like everybody seems to love it, and everybody's parent, mostly mother, but also father, it seems to have had their own recipe. And so this version that you have is my version based on tasting a lot of other people's pimento cheese, but it's really quite good. And I'm not big on bragging at all, but we do get a lot of Southerners up here who actually are very high on it, which is a wonderful compliment. But I'm
That's a compliment.
Well, I'm not real competitive, so I never try to be better than anybody's mother. That's a losing proposition. I just figure if it's the best they're going to get today, we're in good shape.
Well, thank you for sharing those. And the pimento cheese is one of my favorites. And you're right, everybody's mother makes one. Our friend Lolis, Eric Eli, he makes one.
Yep.
So definitely everybody has their version. I make one during the summer when we can harvest our local peppers. So I make it seasonally.
Yep. All good.
So Aria, I wanted to also share with you our new cheese, the Briar Rose. We made a collaborative cheese, pre-sip. We call it pre-sip and post-sip. So pre-sip, we made a collaboration cheese with Sarah Marcus, and it's made with the gorgeous Guernsey cow milk that is like gold, you know, the color, and dusted it with fennel pollen, and we age it 60 days. It is pasteurized, but we still age it because it just tastes perfectly delicious at 60 days. And we will be making that again as soon as SIP is lifted and we can ship around and continue to produce cheeses. And it's been a fun collaboration. I'm hoping to continue the collaborations. Our next one, we're going to make a cheese with Pure Luck goat cheese in Texas.
Sounds great. Maybe we should do one with us here.
I would be honored to do one with you there. And,
Okay, let's do
you
it.
know, it's even more fun about, as soon as I can travel to see you, I will come make a cheese. And with honor, I was able to obtain half of Jennifer Bice's molds from Redwood Hill Creamery.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So I should probably ship you and Aubrey one to play with.
Yeah.
So with that said, I had a couple questions, Ari. Do you have any vision on what you see post-SIP, or you call it, what do you call it?
AC, after
BC?
coronavirus. Well,
AC.
we're
AC, we
dating
call it
AC from like March, let's see, 11th, 12th, when it sort of all came apart. Well, I guess it depends on what you say after. So we actually have spent the last year and a half working on our 2032 vision. I know you know a lot about visioning and our process, and you have the business books on your right arm there. We were
Yes.
actually about to formally, it's not a secret to everybody in the organization because they've all seen drafts, and we've been sharing drafts of it over the course of the 18 months, but we were about to actually sort of formally start to say, here it is, the week after all of this came apart. So we haven't gotten to that stage yet. But honestly, from my end, having reread it, I don't think anything would change in there. It's the same things about how we work together, our role in the community, working more with young people, working in harmony with nature. I mean, those aren't things that are really going to go away. And because it's 12 years out, there's really, from my end, no reason to change it. In the next 6 months, I don't really have a clue. And my friend Aisling Rogerson from Fumbly Cafe in Dublin refers to it as riding the Corona coaster, which I really like because
that's a good
every minute that you think you have something in place, something else happens that tells you it's wrong. And I just finished a budgeting meeting. You know, it's just impossible to really know what's going to happen. I mean, there's so many disparate paths that we could go down. So the next 6 months, I don't really know. I mean, we're not in any big rush. I'd rather have people take their time and get it right. My low on my list of desirable paths would be to open dining rooms and then have to close them again 6 months later after you revved everybody up. So we're lucky in that we're still doing carry out and delivery from our 3 restaurants, but it still only accounts for like 35, maybe 40% of sales. And anybody that's in business knows that's not going to add up to a pretty bottom line. In fact, it's pretty ugly.
Right.
So we're actually, I've been doing a lot of work with the Independent Restaurant Coalition, which folks can Google and get to their website. It's a group that came together about 7 weeks ago after all this started, and they're just doing a fantastic job of, I mean, stuff I've read about but never really watched from the inside of just lobbying in Washington, D.C. networking. And 3 of the folks from the group actually were at the White House on Monday for an hour and a half in an meeting live with the President Trump. Anyway, but they've been lobbying hard and pushing for a stabilization plan, which would basically take the PPP loans as they were intended, not as they've actually come across, take the PPP loans and extend them through the end of the year. So if that were to happen, that would be fantastic. Representative Earl Blumenauer from Oregon has actually introduced a bill to that effect today in the House. So that would make all of our lives easier, because at some point, I got to believe there will be a vaccine. And I don't think normal ever existed, so I'm not going to say go back to normal, because it's just a fallacy. It's a fantasy we make up, or a construct we make up to help us get through the instability of our days. But things can go back at some point to not having to wear masks and hide.
Yes, well, thanks to Zoom, at least I get to catch up with you and share with our viewers and listeners the update from you. And I have to say, if I have been reading the books, Rebuilding My Business Plan, as we had just launched our new business. And as you can see, some of the warehouse here. Yeah. It was intended to be an event space.
Nothing like a nice metro shelf to get your day going.
It works well. So we're kind of going back in time and reopening our own little retail shop again, because people are wanting again to know where their food comes from.
Yep.
And so we're opening up our small retail again and carrying the cheeses and pantry items that we can locate, and working with what we call partners, getting beans and legumes and quality, healthy products. We're working with a farm to do a CSA.
Great.
And in the CSA, then we'll take some of the produce from Kicking Bull Farms and make tapenades and pestos a weekly seasonal accompaniment to go in the CSA. And we're looking at adding in a Liberty Duck. So it's going to be a nice, you know, weekly CSA and open only 2 days a week. And for now, I think that's going to be our next step.
Great.
And we're pretty excited about it, actually.
Sounds wonderful.
Ari, is it okay if we open it up to questions?
It's fabulous.
Thank you. Oz, do you want to open up for questions?
Yeah, folks. So go ahead and shoot me over a question via chat, and I'll read it off to you. I have a question of my own. Wondering how did you two connect? What's the local connection? You know, so Shauna's our kind of local rock star here, and I was wondering where did you meet? I know that the chef communities.
I read about her in Rolling
in.
Stone magazine because she was a rock star, and then I don't know where we met, through American Cheese Society, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I remember meeting you was you and I were on a panel, sadly, speaking of people that had passed in American Cheese Society. And I was speaking on behalf of Jennifer Bice for when Stephen Bice passed away.
Yeah.
And you were
Sorry,
on the
I'm just
panel,
saying hi to a regular
Randolph,
customer.
Yeah, please do. Tell them to walk by.
No worries.
So we met at the American Cheese Society in Roanoke Park. And then over the years, we do run into each other at random spots.
Yeah.
Like Putney, Vermont.
There you go.
I ran into you at the co-op in Putney, Vermont while I was staying at Cindy Major's house.
Mm-hmm.
Or Southern Foodways. So yes, thanks Oz for asking. We go back years and years of cheese and food and Zing Train. Any other questions coming on the board, Oz?
Yeah, let's see here. Let me pull that one up.
I know Jill must have a question.
What is your suggestion for finding a great cheese in the store? Like, how do we know if it's been hand labeled or
hand ladled? Well, you don't unless you ask people. Well, you could know if you know what to look for and you buy the cheese, but then that assumes you already have it. So I think from my end, a lot of this is about relationships. And, you know, when people talk about local, which is clearly a great thing, it's mostly focused around geography, but I would suggest that's really only one small part of it, because you can buy Diet Coke that was probably in, you know, wherever, that was produced within 5 miles of where you bought it. And it's hard to say just geography. I think it's more about the relationship, the knowledge of the person you're buying from. And that way, going back to old school, where you knew your local grocer, you knew your local butcher, you knew your local cheesemonger, and if you trusted them, then you go with what they say to a great extent, not in lieu of your own tasting. But if Sheana tells you that it's a good cheese and you trust in her knowledge, then you run with it. The best way to know if it's hand ladled or anything along those lines is either to ask the cheesemonger, or now with the web, it's much easier to go online and go right to the source and contact through email or phone, contact the producer themselves. Ultimately, I think you can taste the difference without question, but if you don't know what to taste for, that's not really that helpful. Like, I'm sure I could tell the difference between a really great engine in a car and a bad engine, but I don't know enough about engines that if you didn't coach me on what to pay attention to, I probably wouldn't catch it.
Well, I agree with local is great, but it's also a pleasure traveling around the country. She has a relationship with a quality dairy, and we can make a beautiful cheese together. You know, when we open up in 2 weeks, we'll have one cheese we definitely made sure to get is a Valley Ford cheese out of West Petaluma. She's making beautiful Jersey cow milk cheeses, and so we just placed an order, and you would have thought we gifted her an angel. She was so excited to have a retail order. You know, so I would say knowing your retailer, knowing that they source good products is a good way to learn about all the food you eat, from the produce to cheese to meats.
Yep.
Absolutely. I see a couple questions up there on the screen, Oz.
Yep, we have a question from Gene McKenzie. Gene, would you like me to unmute you and you can ask live?
Please.
I think you're waving, you're nodding your head yes, right? Here we go. All right. There we go. Unmuting you.
Myself?
There you go.
Hi,
yeah,
Gene.
you're on, Gene. Hi.
somehow I think I made a mistake, and I'm on video, and I apologize. I think there's others who are on the screen somehow. At any rate, I know some of you. I'm Jean McKenzie, and I'm retired now, but I founded McKenzie Creamery, which is a goat cheese company in Ohio. And my son Rob DeMott.
Welcome.
Oh, thanks.
We're in Ohio.
We're in Hiram. We're about 30 miles southeast of Cleveland.
Okay.
And I have actually attended classes with you at ACS. And Neville McNaughton was my cheese consultant back in 2000.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so he immediately said, you must join ACS. And he was just a great guiding light. But we are finding, so I am retired and Rob is busy and not able to attend this, but we are finding, obviously, as I think most of us, our sales are significantly impacted with this virus.
Yeah.
We're exploring avenues and new ways of selling our product. They're coming up, people are calling us and opening up new marketplaces and sort of 7-day-a-week farmers market type of concept. And we're seeing a lot more direct sales or wholesale. We're not seeing as much from our distributors, but we're seeing a lot of activity both direct and at a direct and wholesale level. And I wondered if others are seeing similar, creative pathways.
Well, I'm certainly not the expert. I mean, I think we're all in the same boat trying to figure it out. If I had all the answers, I'd share them with you. But all of that sounds good. I actually just a couple hours ago went to pick up some produce that Tammy, who Sheana knows, that my girlfriend ordered from one of the farms here. Tammy's actually also a farmer, but it's early in the season for her stuff. But they also set up a farmer's market on their property. Which was actually, there were probably 30, 40 people out there. So awesome. And, kudos to them. Clearly, what I would have told you a year ago, if you wanted a big sale, hotels and airlines now are zero. So that's out. But
Right.
Upscale supermarkets seem to be going good. And I've read a couple things about, dairy delivery going back to the milkman of 1965. So that's also possible.
Yeah. Yeah, really, we're seeing a lot of.
I would say the delivery route is CSAs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying
The
CSAs.
CSAs have been a good avenue.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. It's the CSAs. We're doing a weekly delivery service, Ari, and it's not something I thought we'd be doing, and people love it. We deliver a no contact safety protocol delivery of food we prepare and then pantry items.
Yep.
Oz is a recipient. He gets a delivery weekly.
Nothing but thumbs up. It's fantastic.
Well, please email me if you have any questions on the delivery or the setup for what we're doing. Please I'll be sending an email out after this session, and please feel free to contact me with any questions, and I'll copy Ari on this. Ari, I'll copy you on the same email.
Okay.
We have another question from Robert Willis. Robert, raise your hand if you want me to
Any
give
other
you the
questions
mic.
out there from the land?
Yeah, you
Hi,
guys can hear
Bob.
me, right? Okay, I'm gonna read his question. Alrighty. So from Robert, he says, "How do you balance the desire to have others sell cheeses you make against being a retailer who directly competes with them?"
I don't know. It's a challenge. I mean, I guess are you asking in town? I try to take, as Sheana knows, it's probably on her table there. I wrote about beliefs. We try to take the belief that it's going to be better for everybody in the long run, the more places it's available. And that's kind of what we go with. Around the country, there's such a small percentage of the cheese sales are really artisan cheese that I guess I just don't worry about it. The more important thing for me is getting it into people's hands, from good sources.
I see working together makes a stronger marketplace. If we sell Karen Valley Ford's cheese at our retail shop, and then she sells our cheese at her cheese shop, together we're raising the bar for customers to know about both of our cheeses.
I agree.
So I think working together with other cheesemakers And in fact, we've added Karen's cheeses to our delivery system starting next week. So not only
Great.
can they order our cheese, but now they can have access to her cheese. So I think working together is going to be strength in numbers. Okay.
Folks, if somebody else has
Ben,
a
can you bring
question,
over?
I was gonna say, feel
Oh,
free to
please.
raise your hand, and I'll unmute you there, and you can chat with them. And Shauna,
Hello.
sorry, you were saying? Oh, Robin has a question here. Robin, let me give you the mic here. Give me just a moment.
Am I okay? Am I on?
Hi, Robin, you're on.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to make a comment. Shauna and Ari, and Jean, you've talked about direct sales. What we're seeing here in central Iowa is that's just exploded here. Our food co-op, where you order directly from the farmers, from the vendors, from the bakers and the cheesemakers, has just, their sales have gone through the roof. And to cheese specifically, I've noticed on Janet Fletcher's cheese email newsletter that she sends out that she's listing direct sales from a lot of cheesemongers. So in a way, I even though our farmers markets, at least here, are not open,
Right.
all the vendors can sell directly through the co-op. So I have to be glass half full minded, thinking that hopefully that we'll all come out of this better. And a lot of people now are buying directly from farmers and who have livestock and have it processed at local lockers instead of the big
Right.
meat processing.
Yeah, well, that's one of the big problems with we all know on this call, but the
Yeah.
meat processing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, locally here, because of all of our fairs are canceled, we're all buying the 4-H animals and the high school ag department's animals, and then they'll get processed at our local butcher shop, which we've done for years. But it's really great to see the kids have all been able to sell their meat locally, getting a higher price this year for the first time in years. So maybe that is the glass half full, is kids are actually able to sell their meats and they're being processed locally. And hopefully that will continue to grow.
Yep.
All right, we have one very important
Well, thank you for the good question, and thanks for tuning in.
All right, so one last question here, very important because it's from my wife who's pregnant. And it says, for Ari and Shauna, what is your go-to comfort cheese during these times? Think of this as a cheese version of what's in your glass, if you will.
Shauna, you want to start or you want me to?
Well, mine's right off the top. Mine's Mezzo Secco from Bella Cheese. That's like on my counter, on my dinner plate. It's like I carry it in my suitcase cheese.
I like it. I haven't had it for a while. We haven't been carrying it. I should order some. I guess mine would be close, which is Parmigiano Reggiano always. And then also on the other end of the cheese spectrum, the cream cheese that we make at the creamery, which is no extrusion, no vegetable gums, no preservatives. So very old school is pretty incredibly good. And we got a bakery too.
I'll admit too, I do like
that cream cheese on good bread is pretty great.
And I'd agree with you, Ari. We love our creme de fromage, but as my husband knows, it's on ration right now because it's all sold. So we're not eating it right now because the tubs are sold. So whenever I do bring creme de fromage home, the household is very happy to receive creme de fromage.
All right.
And it's much like your cream cheese, all natural.
Yep.
It's milk and enzymes
It's
and
good.
minutes.
I've had it.
So, well, Ari, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us Zoom in Sonoma. And I will take you up on that collaboration cheese. I'll follow up with you.
Okay.
And I'll send the email out after with the video for everyone and the emails. So please do visit Zingerman's website and check out their newsletters. I thoroughly enjoyed your recent one, the Zingerman's newsletter, because I was reading it and I found Lolis in there and that made my day. So, and it gave me an excuse to give them a phone call. So thank you for writing this fun red beans and rice story.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And I'll look forward to being in touch with you soon.
Okay, and then my email is just ari@zingermans.com. And Zingermans.com will get folks to mail order, but ZingermansCreamery.com will get them right to the creamery, so they can see that too.
I'll send the link out in our follow-up email, and I'll copy you on it so you'll have everybody's emails.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, thanks, and enjoy
Bye,
that
Robin.
beautiful day.
See y'all.
Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, there. Oh.